Hey guys, and welcome to the fourth podcast for Delta Motivations, DELTAR Motivation. Thank you so much for clicking on this and having a listen, really. I don't know where you're listening to your podcast. It could be on Spotify or Apple or even YouTube. Hey to everyone from YouTube. I'm doing this and putting this up there shortly. So today, I want to talk to you guys about communication. And I don't think I've actually started on a really good note, to be honest, how I've communicated this intro and everything. It's interesting. I'm still new to podcasts, so if you have any advice and anything that is worth noting and to help me out, please let me know. I'm available on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, like I said, YouTube, and even the podcast, putting it down there. I want to talk about communication. I want to talk about why it's so important, because I'm a big advocate for mental health. I'm a big advocate for talking about emotions and feelings, and if we're upset, we're down, it's important to actually talk about it. But it's in everything, really. I did a podcast last week on relationships, and I mentioned how communication through relationships is so important. But I don't just mean just in relationships, I mean within yourself as well. It's really important that you're actually able to communicate with yourself. So I want to start us off by talking about the elephant in the room here. Communication, two-way street. You can't have communication or proper communications if it's just you doing one thing and you're relying on something else and they're not meeting you halfway. So to start off with, we need to set up that communication network. It needs to be both ways. If you've got friends and family that you're happy to talk to, but you might be thinking, oh, hang on, they're not really coming and talk to me. I'm not too sure if I'm a part of their network. You need to step up and start to build that. Communication comes from opening up your thoughts and emotions, allowing the person that you're talking to do the same with their thoughts and emotions, because ideally, when we do this, when we talk about our shortcomings and our struggles and even our passions, it gives permission to those around us to do the same, and that's where the communication starts. They need that permission. You're not going to go into a conversation and go, oh, by the way, here's all my worries, here's all my struggles, here's all my successes, and then just walk away from a conversation. You need to build that up together. So if you are talking to your parents, I get a few people commenting, oh, how do I talk to my parents? I'm a bit scared. Well, it starts with having a conversation. You're not telling them something that you just want them to listen. You're actually wanting to build up a scenario where both of you can communicate and talk at the same time, no arguments, just communication. And that starts with asking them, hey, did you ever have troubles in school? What did you do if a girl didn't like me or didn't like you? How did you go about this? What happened if you lost your job? What would you do, Dad? And start talking about that. Getting their input means that you're actually wanting to listen to their scenario, their side of things. And that means that when they want to communicate with you, they believe you're going to listen to them. People don't communicate when they think that they're not going to be listened to. So this is what I mean by starting that communication, starting it, and you're the one to do that. I mean, you're the one listening to this podcast. If you are wanting to and you want someone else to start it, send it to them. Send it to them. But communication needs to be both ways. You need to be able to listen to them and not just rely on them to listen to you. I want to also talk about relationships in general now, because when I mention communication, yes, I mean it's a whole. It's whoever's in your life, it's friends, it's family, but then loved ones is super important. Who you choose to spend the rest of your life with needs to be one of the people in your network. That's just my belief. You can say that I'm wrong, that I'm crazy, but if it's your wife or your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend, they need to be a part of your network. So the communication, it needs to be there. If you're in a relationship and say, well, we actually don't communicate, I don't know what they're thinking, I don't know why they are angry, I don't know what's happening, I don't know if you're in a relationship. It's a confusing time. You're the one that needs to know, aren't you? You're in that relationship where both of you are trying to mesh two individual people together. That's how a relationship works. You need to have two individual people, and they need to come together in order to function. And that coming together requires communication. I'm not saying that you communicate everything. Oh, hon, I'm going to the toilet. Oh, I'm going out here for 5 minutes. No. What I mean is, when you're going through difficult times, there needs to be a level of communication. You need to start with saying, look, I'm just going to vent. This is what I'm thinking right now. My head's in turmoil. I'm going through this. And just to talk. Not to ask for any solution. Not to say there's a problem. It's just what's going on in your head at that time. It could be, I recommend daily, to be honest, but it could be a time set that you and your partner sit down at the dinner table in the bedroom, watching TV, and it just talks. They need to understand and know where you are at, and vice versa. You need to know and understand where they're at. It is not taking on the responsibility to solve their problems if they've communicated them to you, but it's the support. I keep mentioning the word network. The support network, communication network is highly important. If you are wanting a happy and healthy relationship, that both of you can sit down and actually talk about what is going on in your heads at some point. I'm not saying it's got to be every minute, but at some point, to sit down and communicate. It's a level of understanding and empathy. Empathy, so big in relationships, to let the other person in. Let them understand what is going on inside your brain so they know. They can show empathy there. Communication is key. I keep saying daily. Why do I say daily? Why doesn't it have to be daily? Well, because we're creatures of habit. Because we're animals that communicate. We're actually one of the only animals that is able to communicate. I believe that if it's not daily, then you're missing opportunities. You're missing it. If you're saying, well, I talk to them once a week, I sit down with my partner, and on a Friday night we just chat and we debrief about the week. That may work. That's fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that if you're having a daily talk about what's going on inside your brain, inside their brain, what are they feeling? What are they going through right now? What were their highs? What were their lows? And that you're missing out on opportunities. You're missing out to show your love, support, and the support network that needs to be there. That's just my belief, okay? You agree to disagree. I'm not turning around and saying, well, this is a perfect relationship. Do this. This is not a perfect relationship. Don't do that. I'm not saying that. But my belief is, if it's daily, if it's a 10-minute block, then that's where you will see empathy and acceptance and understanding come from both sides. And when that happens, communication flows freely, and it just works, okay? It just works. On that note, I've been asked a few times about relationships. This is a grey area here. Starting a relationship. How do you have communication and want that communication starting a relationship? You've just met this person, you're wanting to build that communication and say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is how you're feeling, let's see if we're on the same page here. You don't want to rush it and push too fast, or pull back and say, oh no, they're actually pulling away, they don't want to talk to me at the moment. Like, there's a fine line between what you're doing. So I want you to think about this. The pace at which you go with any relationship is fine. There is no right or wrong way to go about a relationship. There isn't. My problem is, if you start the relationship and the only communication is via text message, then you're missing out on opportunities to build. You're missing out on real communication. I don't mean text messages. If you're dating a guy or dating a girl and you've just texted, call instead. Call. Hear the voice, hear tone. That's where communication thrives. You can actually bounce off what you're hearing properly. Get rid of the text message. If you think this person's worth your time and willing to put in the time, call. Please. Spend time with them outside of the realms of social media, of text messaging and emails. Spend time communicating person to person over the phone. Go back to that time and build with that. Because when you actually start conversing over the phone, you should want to hear your partner's voice. You should be able to listen and hear tone and say, okay, that tone means that she's actually upset with this. She's actually not okay. He's actually struggling with this. Oh, he loves the football. I can hear it in his voice, the passion there. This is what we are missing if we just rely on dating sites, if we just rely on text messages and emails and just Snapchats and everything. It's just miscommunication. It's there. Don't get me wrong, you are communicating, but it's not the real communication that is long-lasting and developing and that can show empathy. A person can send me a text message to say how bad their day was. I actually can't see or hear their response. They say they're crying, they say they're upset, but I empathize a little bit, but I can't to the full extent if I'm not with them. If I can't see and bounce off their emotions and feel what they're feeling. It's really important if you're starting a relationship and you're worried about, well, how do I build communication? He's texted me this many times, but he didn't text me today and I'm a bit weird, or vice versa. And he's like, well, I thought we had a good time, but she didn't text me. Call. Calling is the communication. You can't bluff a call. You can hear it. You can say, okay, well, I'm gonna call this person now, and I'm gonna hear their voice. I'm gonna talk about their day. It might be daily because you're just starting a relationship. It may be weekly because you don't want to go too fast. There's no right or wrong. You will know that. You will know you will know the person who you're with, and you need to make that decision. But I recommend calling or catching up person to person and say, yep, we're going to, one day a week, we're going to catch up and for a coffee, we're just going to talk. It's going to enjoy each other's company. We're going to put the phones down and we're going to communicate. That there will be long-lasting relationship. I just know it. I just know communication in all its forms is important. Now, in saying that, I'm going to touch on a couple of topics here. I'm going to touch on one in particular. This is mental health. So I don't know if you know this. I am a mental health advocate. I keep mentioning that with my other podcasts and my TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I want to start the conversation there. This is me reaching out to anyone else who needs. I'm going to start the conversation. I had a difficult week. I had a difficult week with something that happened it's a year ago. It's anniversary of losing a young boy. I was his coach. I coached football, my little brother's football team. I helped with their development from 10 years old up until 18. And this boy took his own life last year. And this was a 1 year anniversary, and it was a struggle. It was. I posted, I talked about it, and I said, I am not okay today. I'm not okay today. I don't have to be okay. I don't have to put on a brave face. I don't have to show strength. I don't. What I need to do is communicate how I was feeling. And I did that to my fans, to my family, to my loved ones, to my friends, and said, I'm actually not okay today. And that's okay, guys. I understand that I'm not okay. I may not be okay tomorrow. It may be a week. I'm not doing okay. I'm not saying that. And people get confused with this and they say, I don't want to put my burdens on other people. You communicating your mental well-being, your mental health is not putting a burden on somebody else. It is relieving your burden. It is. Because it's not their job to fix. But they now understand and empathize with what you are feeling. They're there to support. They want to support. They're your friends. They're your family. They're people that love and support. They want to be there to do that. If you are in a relationship or a family member or friendship and say, well, I actually don't get the support, then you need to change that support network. I can't stress that enough. When you're in a friendship group and you say, well, I actually can't speak to them about this issue, we need to start the conversation then. If you are in a friendship group and you are worried that your mental well-being is compromised, then we need to start the conversation. I am reaching out to you. I am reaching out. If this is someone that you know and you are close to, we need to start that conversation, because it's a stigma that you pass on your burden to somebody else. If you are the person that you've been told about their problems, that your friends come to you, your family members come to you and told you the problem, I'm going to tell you right now, it is not your job to fix. It's your job to empathize and support. And that's where the communication needs to be there. It's the hug. It's the ability to cry. I don't want, if I'm in a ball crying and upset and just need my time, I don't want 10 people around me sitting down and just crying with me. I want them to be okay. I want them to be, okay, Dylan, have your cry. Have your time. But when you're just about to stand up, we will lend out a hand and we will pick you up. We will help you get up. It's not about the whole world in that darkness and crying state. It's about knowing that you are able to be down and that those around you are still standing. They're still standing. They're there. They're the pillars that are just waiting to support. And that's what I want everyone to realize. And this is, again, my view on things, but it's so important that we don't treat our mental health and mental well-being as a burden. We say, oh, I don't want to put my problems. It's not problems. It's life. It's fact. It's what's happening right now. Talk about things. Talk about how you're feeling. Talk about your day, your lows. Talk about your highs. Appreciate them both. They happen. They do. And talk about your self-worth. Who are you to you? I say communication. I said it at the start. Communication to yourself. Who are you to you? Are you a strong person? Are you able to support yourself? You need to have those internal conversations, the internal struggle that you've got. You need to be able to solve it, to work through it and understand it. Just because you're in a down, slum day, that's okay. Doesn't mean you need to stay that way. But that's your conversation that you need to have with yourself. When it's time, you say, nope, I'm getting up and I'm going on with my life. That's something that you personally need to understand and need to actually have a conversation with yourself. No one can pressure you into moving on. No one can. Because if they try to, it's only going to build resentment and anger towards them. You have that ability. They can support you. They can be there to talk. But it's ultimately your decision. Your communication with yourself. That self-talk to make you feel better, to make you understand and realize that you have got this. I just want to say, mental health matters. You matter. It's important to start the conversation. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this sparks you guys and going to your friends and family and just starting that talk. Going to your mum or dad that you may not have spoken to a little while and just starting to chat. Start the conversation. Ask friends if they're okay. Let them ask it to you. And if we start this conversation, I think the world's going to be a better place for it. Thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, Please leave a comment, subscribe. Let me know how this is helping you, because I'd love to be able to do more videos, more podcasts, and help a lot more people doing what I love doing. Delta Motivation, guys. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.